Okay. Hello, Mr. Wheeler. This is Albert Park from your 4A class, and this would be the economic continuum podcast thing that I promised you when it was assigned. Um, I don't really know how to do a podcast, so this is kind of just me putting my phone down on the floor and just recording from just talking to my mic for now. I don't really know how to like have that completely black screen in like actual podcast and just talking from there, so we're just gonna have to deal with it for now. And yeah, and so the country I did was Suriname or Suriname. I am probably butchering the name horribly, but yeah, and this is the country that I chose. Fun fact: I didn't have any interest in doing any country, and so I just kind of just got this off from a random country generator. But yeah, here we are. And so before I start going into the economic continuum, I'm just going to talk about Suriname a little bit. It is a country based off in South America, and it's basically on the very top part of like the country, of the continent. My bad, and it's pretty small when you compare it to something like Brazil or Chile. Um, it's a pretty small country, and it is currently listed as a parliamentary representative democracy. Even though there has been a good like its past has been filled with military and political conflict, coups, and so yeah, there's this government still, even though it's classified as a democracy, still holds a lot of power in the country, and this is going to be really important later on when I actually talk about where Suriname is located on the continuum. Um, and so yeah, just going to be corruption. Um, and so just to start things off with like the actual economic stuff, as of right now, its freedom score is 49.5, making it the 163rd freest country on the on our list. So once again, it was ranking a bit on the low side, and it is ranked for the Americas region 29 out of the 32 countries. So once again, it's a bit rock bottom, and it has a total GDP of 8.9 billion, with there being some constant growth, and but then um, later on I'll talk about how the GDP is actually getting repressed. Um, and so yeah, just to go on for just get into more specific backgrounds. Um, so we have the way the government of Tsunami has like been doing its economic policies and all that. They do have policies for business and labor policies and all that. But the problem is they're very inefficient, and this leaves the labor market to be very inflexible, and so a lot of the public is going to just suffer from this. And the reason why these policies partly are inflexible or is going to be the taxes that are included in these markets, and the tariff rates. It has a tariff rate of 7.6% with with a good amount of taxing on everything essentially. And this is because the country of Suriname is very high in fiscal debt and very large public debt as well. That is expected to rise over the coming years, especially with Corona and everything, probably, I'd assume. And so, in terms of actual revenue, 90% of export revenue comes from mining. And so, this is a very highly labor based economy, I'd say. And so, like I said before, in terms of the rule of law, the government has not been doing a very good job in property rights, as a good percentage of the land in Suriname does not have a clear land title. And as this is because like the government had made little to no effort in registering these land titles, and so there is no land title office as well, meaning that courts are now going to be financially dependent on the executive agencies, meaning that there is definitely going to be an influence that the executive area has. And like I said, because there is going to be corruption in the government. You can see where this is going to be going. Um, and so that's just going to be a bit of a problem. Um, and so in terms of the government size, income tax is at a 38% rate, with the corporate tax being 36, and this includes once again property taxes and excise taxes. Um, and so with also something to know is that the government of Suriname has spent quite a lot, um, as the government spending has amounted to over 29% of the country's GDP over the last three years, and it has caused 7.8 um, of budget deficits in GDP. And the public debt is about 69.6% of GDP, which is an alarming number. Um, so in terms of like how it regulate in terms of the regulatory efficiency of Suriname, there are very little legal protections for investors and workers. Like as the government really hasn't focused on that, I'd say. Um, and the education background in Suriname really isn't the best either, as it is more of a labor-based economy, and so you're not going to get as much people being educated. And once again, in the government where there is some corruption, this is going to be a problem. But just to go over some more stats, just following from the way the traits of the laborers in Suriname, we have a 7.6 unemployment rate, with inflation reaching 6.9%. And yeah, even though I'd say Suriname really hasn't made any blatant, just like blatant ways of the government like claiming its power, even though it really has. Um, it's it just has a poor way of running its economy, I'd say. And there's a lot of places in the market where things are very undeveloped and are subject to be influenced by, like I said before, state and executive influences. Um, and so yeah, and just going back to the continuum. Um, like I said before, I would not place Tsunami as a just complete 100% command economy, right? It just by the name and by like on paper, it is considered as a mixed economy, right? The government has some power, but it is supposed to be it's supposed to be mainly, or just the people at least have some say in this. But like I said before, because it's the government definitely has more power than in a mixed economy in Suriname. I definitely would put it a little bit more on the left. Um, I wouldn't say like up to North Korea's level, but it's definitely not too far behind, I'd say. Um, it's just the amount of just undeveloped, poor regulatory rules. The government is corrupted and is corrupting and its influence is reaching the economy. There's poor labor rules, poor investing rules, and so overall, I definitely would put it just heading towards a command economy. Um, and yeah, that's about it though. Um, yeah, so just in conclusion, it is definitely not, definitely not somewhere of the level of America, and yeah. So yeah, that's the podcast, the end of the podcast or something. I don't know. I don't even know if this is a podcast anymore. Um, and so yeah, that's about it. So thanks for listening.